This program is sponsored by Medical Arts Hearing Instruments, 52 West Street in Leominster, locally and authentically providing better hearing and quality of life since 1978. www.donotshout.com.
Okay, so we have an interview regarding a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Charles Raymond to the Conservation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023. And Mr. Raymond, you are on the line with us.
Good evening. I am.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. So what we do for interviews for our boards and commissions is the Ways and Means Committee handles the interview. And my name is Gail Feckley, and I'm the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, and Councilor Frieda and Councilor Dombrowski are the members, the other members. And then we will have you introduce yourself to us and the public and give us a little bit of your background. We have your resume. And I do see that you have several instances on your resume when you have been involved in environmental work. So you might want to, gear towards that. And
Sure.
Also let us know how you feel you could contribute to the Conservation Commission. Because as you must know, or you wouldn't be interested in joining, it's a very, very important part of what goes on in the city of Leominster. So we need to know who you are and what you can do for us. So if you want to...
Muted. Unmuted.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Raymond, I can hear you. Did you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I could hear you the whole time, but then just as you were finishing, I heard something on my phone saying I was muted. So.
Okay. All right. So why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of background and some information about why you want to join the Conservation Commission?
Sure. Thank you very much. I've had a lifelong interest in environmental and ecological issues. I started my academic background actually is forestry and wildlife management. And while I didn't practice that very much, I have spent pretty much my entire career in the environmental engineering industry. Firms that basically engage in a wide variety of services, including and most pertinent to the conservation are things like stormwater management. I have served on two other conservation commissions. I was on a conservation commission in the mid-'90s in Hampstead, New Hampshire for a couple of years. And then when we moved to Cape Cod temporarily. I was served on the Conservation Commission in Falmouth for just about 4 years. I think I bring a very realistic approach to a membership on the Conservation Commission, knowing that ideally that development should commercial and residential development should take place according to the Water Protection Act and the Leominster bylaws and regulations. I try to, even though my bent is more towards ecological preservation and conservation, I understand that development needs to occur, and my job would be to make sure that petitioners in front of the Conservation Commission, their cases would be listened to and judged on the merit of their project according to the laws and regulations of both the state of Mass. I'm sorry, it's been a few years since I've been on the Concom. I'm forgetting the names of the various laws and regulations, but the laws of the state and both the city as well.
Okay. So, and I see that you were involved when you were working for Portage Environmental at the military reservation at Cape Cod. You were involved in working with Safe Drinking Water Act investigations and cleanup. And, we've had some issues with that in the past. Things look much, much better right now, and we'd like to keep it that way, obviously. So can you give us a little bit of information on what you did involving safe drinking water investigations and cleanup? And then just a little bit of information about the guide to environmental cleanup that you said you wrote and distributed.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let me just make a couple of notes. It's Safe Drinking Water Act and the newsletter. Okay. The Safe Drinking Water Act it was an interesting application of the Safe Drinking Water Act down there, because the Safe Drinking Water Act is not a cleanup regulation. It's a protection regulation.
Okay.
But since they, I forget exactly why, but for some reason the Superfund regulations didn't apply to this particular area. But it was the sole source that the source of the contamination was it was right on top of a sole source aquifer on the Upper Cape. So the federal government decided that the most appropriate regulation to use and make the National Guard clean it up is the Safe Drinking Water Act. So it was pretty unique. I don't know if it's been used as a cleanup regulation any place else, but it was pretty unique down there. So my job was a community involvement specialist, so I wasn't involved in enforcing any of the regulations down there. My job was simply to report to the 4 towns in the area how the cleanup was going, because there were most people down there were very interested in it.
Yep.
Did that answer your question about that one?
Yes, you did. Especially the community involvement. I think that's very, very important.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was spent about 4 years down there doing community involvement, and even in the engineering companies that I've been working for since then, community involvement is a critical aspect of a lot of the projects that my employees have worked on. My job down there was to take all of the cleanup information, investigation and cleanup information coming out of the base down there, and including all of both the military and environmental regulatory jargon and acronyms, and translate it into a language that the general public can understand.
Exactly.
So one of my major projects down there was to put together I think it was either 8 or 12 pages. I think it was an 8-page newsletter, about 44,000 copies of which were distributed in the local newspapers in Falmouth, Bourne, Sandwich, and Mashpee. There was a long, laborious process working with everybody from the Pentagon down to some of our local stakeholders. But it was successful. As far as I can tell, it was pretty well received.
Good. Well, the more information you can give the public, the better. I mean, you know that we send out, City of Leominster sends out a water report too, and that's.
Oh, no, I
how
read it.
Questions you got about it. So, okay, that's, I just wanted, like I said, to have you introduce yourself to us and give us a little bit of background on, how you have come to be interested in the Conservation Commission. And I'm going to turn this over now to Councilor Frida for any questions or comments she might have for you.
Okay.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Hello, Mr. Raymond. How are you doing?
I'm well. Yourself?
Good, thank you. First of all, I think I'm a real strong proponent of a very Conservation Commission. And I've always hoped that we had a scientist, an engineer, a number of different occupations that really complement what the Conservation Act has to accomplish. So, and ironically, I'm a little familiar with the Falmouth issue. My daughter's an environmental analyst for the state, and my grandson went to Falmouth schools. So they did a lot of work with the water supplies down there. So, that was quite a project. So,
it's still going on.
I don't think it'll ever end.
Yeah.
It just gets worse there.
It's a lot of people's retirement plans.
True. So I'm happy to see you come on board, and your resume is impressive, and I think you'll be a compliment to the rest of the committee.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, Councilor Feckley, it's 7 o'clock,
Yes.
so I'm going to
Yes.
call the meeting to order at this juncture. And once
Very
we
good.
deal with our start of the meeting, I'll entertain a motion to recess so we can go back to Mr. Raymond. So if everybody would rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States and to the republic which is one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and I'll take the roll call of the councilors present, starting with Councilor Frida.
Here.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Present.
I understand Councilor Shalfo Zephyr is not here. Councilor Feckley.
Here.
Councilor Angelini.
Present.
Councilor Ardinger.
Here.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Present.
Councilor David Cormier.
Present.
And I shall be recorded as present. We have 8 councilors present, with Councilor Shalfo Zephyr being absent. Does the chairwoman of records have a report?
I do, Mr. President. I have the minutes of the regular City Council meetings of June 22nd, 2020 and July 13th, 2020, and have been in contact with the city clerk regarding a few edits that do not impact the outcome of any vote, and she's going to be taking care of those. So in that case, I will consider them to be in order and ask that they be placed on file.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor Feckley. I'll entertain a motion to recess.
I'll make a motion.
Councilor David Cormier moved to recess. Is there a second?
I'll second, Councilor Angelini.
Thank you, Councilor Angelini. Does anyone have an objection to us recessing at this time? Hearing none, I'll record the vote to recess as 8-0. We are in recess, and Councilor Feckley, you can take over the Ways and Means chairmanship and continue with Mr. Raymond.
Thank you very much. Councilor Frida, are you all set?
I am, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Councilor Dombrowski.
Yes, thank you. I just want to compliment Mr. Raymond on his resume. The Conservation Commission is a very important commission in the city. I'm sure he's going to be a welcome addition, and I just want to thank him for volunteering.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for the nice words.
Thank you. Any other counselors have any questions or comments for Mr. Raymond?
Councilor Angelini?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond, thank you for taking the time to volunteer for the Conservation Commission. I also was extremely impressed with your resume. I'm a former member of the commission myself, and it sounds like you will do a wonderful job administering Chapter 131, Section 40, otherwise known as the Wetlands Protection Act. So welcome aboard.
There you go.
And, thank you so much.
Thank you for reminding me of the relevant regulations. I appreciate that. I'm glad to be here.
You're entirely welcome. Welcome on board.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm fine.
Hey,
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Counselor Angelini. Any other counselors? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Raymond, we appreciate very much that you came on the line tonight to speak with us. We're sorry we couldn't meet with you personally. However, someday perhaps. We're very pleased that you have decided to volunteer for this very important commission. And later on in the meeting, we'll be having a vote, and I will be recommending your appointment. So thank you again, and we're looking forward to working with you.
Great. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you as well.
Okay. Thanks again.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
the next interviewee is my son. So
Yes.
for the purposes of the interview as well as the council presidency, if you wouldn't mind handling the role as council president as well as chairwoman of Ways and Means as concerns the interview, and then later on in the agenda as concerns the vote, I would appreciate it. I'd ask the city clerk to note my recusal from this matter.
Absolutely. Okay, so our next interview is a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Nicholas Bedanza to the Disability Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023. And we have Nicholas on the phone?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, hi, Nicholas.
Hi, Councilor Beckley.
Is it Nicholas
You can
or
refer to
Nick?
me as Nick. Nick is fine.
I think that's what we called you at Pittsburgh State, right, in the behavioral science
Yes,
department.
that's correct. Exactly.
So, Nicholas, we have your resume as well, and I see that you are expected to earn your Master's in Science from Simmons University in Library and Information Science in 2022, so good for you. That's a lot of hard work, I'm sure. You also have a bachelor's degree from Pittsburgh State University, graduated in 2014. You were very instrumental for our other counselors in the public, very instrumental in keeping the sociology club afloat. I will tell you, we haven't had that much luck with it lately, and hopefully we will, but the sociology club was a very active club at the time. And Nicholas, we also wanted to let the public and council know that you graduated summa cum laude, which is not an easy thing to do. So very impressive. So we see that you have experience in, you have a lot of experience with working with the public. And certainly with the Disability Commission, on the Disability Commission, this is something that would be very, very important. You've worked in the Cleghorn Neighborhood Center, you've worked at the Leominster Public Library, you've worked for Immigration Legal Assistance Programs. So you've worked with a wide variety of people and cultures and situations. So what I would like you to do, Nicholas, is first introduce yourself to the council and the public, and then fill in a little bit of the background that I didn't give, especially as it comes to working with the public, and then what you feel you can contribute to the Disability Commission.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Bedanza. I am a Leominster native. I've lived here most of my life. I graduated from Pittsburgh State back in 2014 with my bachelor's of science in sociology. After graduating, I spent time working in retail and hospitality, as well as a few other internships and volunteer opportunities with diverse populations. These roles took me to Chicago, Illinois, where I lived the past 4 years. I recently moved back to Leominster to attend graduate school and earn my master's degree from Simmons University. My education and experience has fostered an interest in social causes, which has motivated me to become involved in local government. And as a member of the commission, I'll be able to apply my sociological perspective and professional experience towards making Leominster a more accessible community for everyone of every ability.
Mm-hmm.
I feel I definitely have a lot of experience working, interfacing with a variety of diverse communities, and definitely through my studies have learned about underrepresented groups and social forces that affect them in society, which I definitely think will be useful when viewing how people interact with the city who have, different abilities.
Mm-hmm. That's very important, Nicholas. I spent a little time on the Disability Commission myself, and being able to, like I said, work with the underprivileged groups and getting everybody on the same page, and then also being able to understand how to get the information that you need so that you can serve those populations is very important as well. That's why, certainly your sociology background and working with the public would be, all the work that you've done with the public would be very, very important. A lot of the things that you have on your resume, like, prompt resolutions of issues. I mean, that's important. That something gets taken care of promptly, and then everybody is on the same page about it, and everybody can say afterwards, okay, we solved that problem, to everybody's satisfaction. So I think that all of those things that you brought to light are very important, and I am going to now turn over to Councilor Frida for questions and comments.
Thank you.
Hi, Nicholas. How are you?
Good, Councilor Frida. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'll agree that your resume is pretty impressive, and I think the Disability Commission is, in Leominster, has taken on a different role in a lot of cases, with particularly in new buildings. We had it with the high school when we put the addition on, and as you probably know, the library had issues that we had to go back and look at because of the disability issues in the entrances. We have a police station that's coming on board in the near future, hopefully, and that'll also ask for input from the Disability Commission. So your background in sociology and just the overall population, along with the Disability Commission issues, are really going to be looked at highly. So I'm happy that you're volunteering your time, and welcome to the board.
Thank you, Councilor Frida.
You're welcome.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yes, good evening, Nick. I don't have any questions. Again, a very important resume, and thank you very much for volunteering. I think you're gonna find that your time on the commission is going to be very worthwhile. But again, thank you for volunteering.
Thank you very much, Councilor Dombrowski.
Do any other councilors have any questions or comments for Nick?
Yes, Councilor Beckley, it's Councilor David Cormier.
Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to welcome Nick to the board. I also serve on the commission, I should say. I also serve on the commission. Part of our 13-member body does call for an elected official to be on it. So the elected official that is currently serving as a member of the body. I believe Nick's appointment will bring us to 10 members of the commission, which is really impressive. Where getting ourselves out there and making people aware, that we do have a disabilities commission in town, and we're there to work with people to make sure that everything is is as accessible and user friendly in the city as can be. We still have a few slots if anybody else is interested, but I just wanted to welcome Nick, and I'm sure that his background will be very useful and will just be another diverse perspective of things, and it's going to be great to work with him. So I just want to congratulate him, and looking forward to working with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier.
Any other councilors have any questions or comments for Nick?
Madam President, Councilor Angelini.
Yes, go right ahead, Councilor Angelini.
Thank you, Madam President. I just briefly would like to say that I've known Nicholas Bedanza his entire life. He's a gentleman, a consummate professional, and I'll be proud to support this nominee. Thank you for your service, Nick. Welcome back to Leominster, and be a pleasure working with you in the future.
Thank you, Councilor Angelini. I look forward to it.
Very good.
Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome, Councilor Angelini. Any other councilors? Okay, hearing none. Nick, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I believe from what you've heard from most of the councilors, we're very impressed with your resume. Glad that you have returned to Leominster to be of service to the community. And hopefully this will just be the beginning of a continued service to the city of Leominster. So later on in the meeting, we will be having a vote, and I will be very proud to recommend your appointment to this very important commission. So thank you very much for your volunteerism.
Thank you very much, Councilor Feckley.
You're welcome. Okay, that concludes the interview.
Okay, Councilor Friede, are you all set with your 6:53 public hearing?
I am. This is a public hearing before the City Council, 67-20, Verizon New England Incorporated. Request permission to locate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary anchors, guides, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners along and across the following public way or ways. Franklin Street. Relocate one solely owned pole numbered T.5-1 to a point on the northerly side of Franklin Street, approximately 320 feet easterly from the center line of Pleasant Street. The reason being to relocate one solely owned pole on Franklin Street at the request of an abutter, and to provide for the distribution of intelligence and telecommunications. I have a concern with this. Is there anyone on the line from Verizon?
No, there's not anybody on Verizon.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. This is an issue with some of the jointly owned poles. It's kind of a guessing game sometime when a constituent contacts one of us to alleviate a problem or something that wasn't maintained properly, whether it's Verizon or whether it's National Grid. So to try to get a handle on that, I asked the clerk to send a request to both National Grid and to Verizon asking what their policy is when they trim for wires, when they work on the properties, how they maintain and clean up the property that either abuts or that they're working next to. Although that doesn't apply to this particular petition, I do have to say the National Grid immediately contacted us, gave us their policy, and told us that this was a Verizon issue, not a National Grid issue. I'm a little bothered with the fact that they didn't send a policy. We have no idea what their outlook is when they do some of these repairs or maintenance. And there was nobody to speak to this petition when it was first introduced. And again, we gave further time to the public hearing with the clerk contacting Verizon and getting no response second time, and nobody here tonight to speak to the issue as well. So with 2 absences on public hearing, no maintenance plan, and some concerns with one of Councilor Cormier's constituents, we had to do some research to find out who actually was responsible for the cleanup. So my recommendation would be, I'd like to deny it, but I'll go further time because there is a constituent here and in a butter, and this isn't fair to them. But maybe if we send a message, we can get some answers back. So I will go to the council and see if I'll go to Councilor Cormier first to see if she has any comments or questions here.
Thank you, Councilor Frida. Yeah, as I said, it came up with a constituent saying that he had a problem over there at one of the locations. He did tell me that National Grid came in, they cleaned up, they did really well. The issue was the later work done by Verizon. That came and left a bit of a mess, and this is an older gentleman and doesn't have the funds or the ability to clean it up himself. I agree with you. I'm happy that National Grid has showed up, and they've showed up all along since we started, and I started on the council. They've really made an effort. Verizon has as well, so I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard from them. So, yeah, anything we can do to get just a little more response for them. I hate to hold up National Grid because they have been very responsive. They have done a good job. But as you know, on the other side of that is we need Verizon to come in and step up and do their part as well.
Yeah, I don't think National Grid is part of this petition, so it would only be Verizon that I'm aware of. That's
okay.
Verizon that applied for the Councilor Eidinger, I believe, is the third member of the committee. Or do I have that wrong? I don't have my...
Councilor Feckley.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's okay.
Sorry, Councilor.
No, I would support your recommendation, Councilor Frida. We don't have a representative from Verizon here, and you have questions, and I think that's more than fair.
All right. Let me go out to the rest of the council before we go to the public. Is there anyone else that has any questions regarding this petition?
Councilor Frida?
Yes. Councilor Angelini? Okay.
Yes, thank you. I would agree with you, Councilor, that I think we'd be setting a terrible precedent to act in the affirmative on this petition without the representative from Verizon making himself available to questions. So I would support your recommendation as well.
Okay. I don't want to get into too much of the supporting at this point because it is a hearing.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to be sure everybody had an opportunity to ask their questions.
My position, I think, again, if we ask for a representative and they don't provide us with one, we're put in a very difficult position. And
right.
So thank you. I agree with you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other councilors have any questions or comments? All right. At this point, I'll go to the public. Is there anyone on the line that would like to speak in the affirmative for petition 67-20? Again, for the second time, is there anyone who wishes to support 67-20? For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak in support for 67-20? If not, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Again, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I'll declare the public portion closed. If I could, to the clerk, should we give this further time and try to be a little courteous, or would we have a problem keeping the hearing open another 2 weeks?
Nope, that will be okay. I'm actually going to reach out to the mayor's office to see if they have a better, more updated contact than I have, because sometimes there's changeover in the upper parts, and I might have an older contact and not know it. So I'm going to see if they can try that.
I understand that, but they've done a number of public hearings in their lifetime. It should not be you chasing them. They should be available to you because they're asking us for something. So I appreciate that, checking with the mayor as well to see if there's another contact. But we don't have an issue. I'm not sure how to deal with it. I would like to well, let's close the hearing. Let's close the hearing, and we'll discuss
Councilor,
it.
do you want to close the hearing without their representative being present?
I would honestly recommend keeping the hearing open so that way we don't have any issues going down the line for legal time frames. Because if we close it and it tick-tocks and you don't make a decision after a while, it could automatically be accepted.
Well, I'd be looking to make a recommendation and a decision tonight, but all right, let's leave it open for another 2 weeks then.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. President, recommendation is to continue the hearing.
Okay, and we'll take that up later in the meeting when we get to that point of the agenda. We'll establish a continued hearing date at that point. Okay, thank you, Councilor. We now have your 6:54 p.m. hearing.
Okay, this again is a public hearing for the City Council, 3-21, National Grid and Verizon New England. Request permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public ways. Nelson Street, National Grid to install 1 JO pole, remove 4 JO poles, and relocate 4 JO poles on Nelson Street, beginning at a point approximately 10 feet west of the center line of the intersection of North Main Street, and continuing approximately 400 feet in a westerly direction. Relocate P4 approximately 5 feet back, TJ approximately 4 feet back, P2 approximately 7 feet back, and P1 approximately 9 feet east and 8 feet back. Install new P1-84 and anchor approximately 50 feet from P1. And I know there is someone from National Grid on the line. Is it Jay?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Hi.
Jay Lucier.
I'm sorry?
I just said Jay Lucier.
Okay. Do you want to give us a little bit of a background on this? I know you did last time, but just...
yeah, this looks like a Massachusetts DOT project where they're widening maybe Main Street and Nelson Place and at the whole intersection right there. So I believe these pole moves came at a request from that DOT project because it looks like the poles right now are just on the outside of the current sidewalk. So I guess they want some extra real estate for the project, and this would give them that.
I should have realized that when I saw Nelson Street that it was a project there. All right, and I do want to thank you for responding as quickly as actually Scott as well. Now, is this just something that you've got National Grid and Verizon? So you are submitting the petition. Is Verizon submitting it as well with you?
Well, the way it works nowadays is National Grid installs mostly all poles, especially joint-owned poles, and
Right.
where National Grid and Verizon are attached to these poles, we reinstall the new moved poles as joint-owned poles as well. So that automatically triggers the Verizon aspect of it. So it's the same pole. That's why
Right.
it shows as joint-owned. But so in this scenario, we'll install the new poles in their new locations, and then National Grid will come along and transfer their wires over to the new poles and remove the old pole that's left behind. So that's how the Verizon and National Grid scenario works. Excuse me, I think I might have misspoke. National Grid installs the poles. Verizon comes along later and transfers over to the new poles and then removes the old stubs that are left.
Okay. All right, so Verizon removes the old stuff.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. So that stresses more a little the importance of what their plan is when they're removing. So.
Correct.
All right. Let me go to my committee to see if they have any questions. This is a pretty well-known project that's been waiting for a while, so it will only make that whole area better. So I have no issue with it. Councilor Cormier?
Just thank you for answering us quickly enough and calling in every meeting that we do this. It makes a big difference. Thank you.
That's my pleasure.
Councilor Feckley?
Yeah, I'll just echo Councilor Cormier's comments. Thank you for coming in and explaining all this to us. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Any other councilor have any questions before I go to the public? All right. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of 3-21? Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak in support of 3-21? For the third time, is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of 3-21? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? The third and final time, is there anyone on the line who wishes to speak in opposition to 3-21? Hearing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frida. We'll now move on to matters first time on the agenda, starting with communications from the mayor. Madam Clerk?
Oops, sorry about that.
Are you doing the
no public forum?
Oh, I'm
Public
sorry.
forum?
Thank you very much. Appreciate the reminder. Okay, public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on a matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. Is there any member of the public that wishes to address the city council in the public forum? Ask for a second time. Is there any member of the public that wishes to address the city council in the public forum? And a third and final time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the city council in the public forum? Hearing none, I'll declare the public forum closed. Now we can go to matters first time on the agenda, starting with communications from the mayor.
Communications from the mayor, C06. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request to authorize the City of Leominster to pursue $19,606 through the United States Department of Justice JAG program, Justice Assistance Grant Program.
C-6 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the agenda, regular course.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor. C-6 is given regular course. Moving on to C-7.
C-7, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request to authorize the City of Leominster to establish the Frankie Fortuna donation account to enable the city to accept grants and donations related to renovation of the Johnson Street Skate Park.
C-7 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
First time on the calendar, Mr. President, regular course.
Thank you very much. C-7 is given regular course. Moving on to appointments.
C-08, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request that the attached list of individuals be appointed as elections officers, terms to expire August 1st, 2021.
C-8 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, first time on the calendar.
Thank you, Councilor Feckley. Moving on to C-9.
C-9.
Mr. President, could I just interrupt for a second?
Of course, Councilor.
C-08, could we just make a note, if there is any public listening, that the list is in the clerk's office, if anybody would be interested in seeing who the election workers are?
That's a good point, and thank you for letting the public know that. As Councilor Frieda indicated, if any member of the public is interested in seeing the names on that list of election workers, it is, of course, available for public inspection. Thank you, Councilor Frieda.
You're welcome.
All set?
Yep.
Okay, moving on to C-9.
C-9, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request the following changes for approval for the Leominster Police Department Building Committee. And then it has a list of members. Mayor Dean J. Mazzarella, Chief Aaron Kennedy, replacing Chief Michael Goldman, Sergeant Daniel Perietti, Sergeant James Maroy, replacing Patrolman Michael Wing, Wendy Weeks, Officer Brett Thompson, replacing William Mitchell, Henry Fry, James Lanciani, Michelle Richards, Neighborhood Representative Edition, Councilor Claire Frieda, Lieutenant Mark Amico, Kelly Valley, replacing Patrolman Daniel Contois, Kelly Gamble, Greg Chapdelaine, James Whitney, Patrick McCarty, Officer Carlos Centrone, replacing Robert Grudzicki.
Okay, so C-9 doesn't have a referral on the agenda, but I would assume this would be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes.
Okay, first time on the calendar, regular course.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor Feckley. C-9 is given regular course. Moving on to C-10.
C-10, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request that an appropriation of $25,000 be made to the landfill capping expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund.
C-10 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier. C-10 is given regular course. Moving on to C-11.
C-11, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request that the attached loan order be adopted regarding demolition, site surveys, asbestos removal for the new police station in the amount of $2 million.
C-11 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course. And I would ask that we establish a public hearing for August 10th, 2020 at 6:54 p.m.
Okay, we'll do that right now. Is there, I would assume the recommendation for the hearing date you just read. Is there any member of the council that objects to the hearing date? Hearing none, the hearing date is approved by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to petitions, first time on the agenda, starting with 4-21.
4-21, Gregory C. Chapdelaine, Purchasing Agent, request to allow a contract for energy consulting services for the city for a 5-year period. This is in preparation for the next services contract that the city will be bidding out this year, beginning in August. The current contract will expire in August.
4-21 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Hold on one moment, Mr. President. This is 4-21.
Correct.
First time on the calendar, regular course. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I apologize. I was reading something.
No problem. Okay, 4-21 is given regular course. Moving on to 5-21.
5-21, Gregory C. Chapdelaine, Purchasing Agent, request to allow a contract for payroll services for a 6-year period. The current contract will expire this December in anticipation of this expiration.
5-21 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Same situation, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course.
Very well. 5-21 is given regular course. Moving on to 6-21.
6-21, Election Order. An order relative to the state primary, September 1st, 2020.
6-21 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course.
6-21 is given regular course. Matters before the City Council, starting with the City of Leominster's financial report. Is the Chairman of Finance ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. We began the fiscal year on July 1, 2020 with $14,189,152.27. At the last meeting, we added the free cash certification from the fiscal years ago, which was $7,400,164. And then pending the two items that are on here, one of them to be voted on tonight and the other one to be given a final vote at the next meeting, we will have spent $128,000, and that will leave us a balance of $21,461,316.27, and that is the financial report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to C-1. Is the Chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. C-1, this was an emergency preamble. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $7,400,164 be made to the stabilization fund, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. This was given an emergency preamble and voted in the positive at the last meeting, and we do need to ratify this vote, and it would be my opinion that we move forward with the ratification of C-01.
I'll check with members of your committee. Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I'm in agreement.
And Councilor Angelini?
I'm certainly in favor of moving to ratify, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Angelini. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of Finance to ratify C-1. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, this is Councilor Frida.
Yes, Councilor Frida, please proceed.
I will be supporting the ratification as I did with the emergency preamble, but I do it only because we have no choice. This is done at the 11th hour. There was no other place to put that $7 million except in stabilization. It should have gone much earlier into free cash so that some of these projects could have been done, but it didn't. So I'm ratifying it with reservation.
Okay, I appreciate your position. I just want the public to know that because the money is going to stabilization does not mean it is unavailable for capital projects or anything really that the mayor communicates to us and we approve. The difference, of course, is that when it's in stabilization, it does require not a simple majority of the City Council, but a 2/3 majority of the City Council to move the money out of the stabilization account, just so the public understands that. Is there anything else that anybody...
I don't disagree with that comment, but stabilization was always meant to be emergency. And you see the footnote that to fund emergency needs as they arise and appropriate certified free cash. So the original intent of the stabilization fund for emergencies. That's why there's the 2/3 vote needed. So, all right.
Yes, I understand your point. The city, for the last number of years that I've been around at least, has put excess and deficiency into stabilization, or at least some amount of it, to have the flexibility to use it after, in fact, the fiscal year is over. So, that's right or wrong. That's what the city's done. So, this is, although it's very obviously as late as it's ever been in terms of its certification, it's been late in the past and in the recent past, and that's what we've done. So I just wanted to make that point as well. Is there anything further? Okay, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The C-1 is ratified. Moving on to C-2.
Thank you, Mr. President. C-2, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $103,000 be made to the sidewalk expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. This request came, obviously, DPW. Dear Mayor, the Leominster Department of Public Works respectfully requests an appropriation of they were asking for 155, but the communication is for 103, to the sidewalk and curbing account. And this is for, in their letter, sidewalks and curbing repair for unsafe sidewalks around they've identified some of them to be around city schools. They also need 10 additional ADA ramps in the downtown area. There's a sidewalk on Exchange Street from west to Kingman Drive that this money will be taken care of, and Laurel Street from the new park right there at the corner with Mechanic to Spruce Street. It says, with these additional funds, we hope to continue the sidewalk initiative to help with the ability for kids to walk to school safely and elderly to navigate crosswalk ramps. So that is the explanation, and this is just general maintenance and repair of our sidewalks, and I certainly support this communication, and I'll ask you to poll members of the committee.
Very well. Councilor Pauline Cormier?
100%. I concur.
Very well. Councilor Angelini?
I'm supportive as well, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of Finance to grant C-2. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, this is Councilor Frida.
Frida, thank you.
I'm going to make my same comment. This is $103,000 that could have been certified in free cash a long time ago that would have gotten these projects well on the way. Every department has been sitting waiting for their project to go, waiting for free cash to come in. So now we're taking it out of stabilization because that's the only place we can get it. So just my point again, and I'm voting for it only because there's no other choice than getting the money. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Is there any other councilor that wishes to comment? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. C-2 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President. Order that the sum of $103,000 be appropriated to the sidewalk expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. Move to the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 8-0. The order is adopted. Moving on to legal affairs, does the chairman have a report?
Thank you, Mr. President. I do. Petition 1-21. David R. Cormier requests to install a stop sign against southwest-bound drivers on Comstock Road at Birchcroft Road. Before I get into the merits, Mr. President, my understanding is because this is an ordinance change, we need to have a scheduled public hearing.
Yes.
So I would ask what dates are good from the clerk and ask that the council vote on that.
Does the clerk have a suggestion for a hearing date and time?
If it's not pressing and you guys feel comfortable with it waiting a little bit more, I would recommend August 24th, because at our next meeting we have over 8 interviews, plus I think it's 3 public hearings now, so it's getting a little full. But if you feel like it's pressing and needs to go to the next meeting on the 10th, that's okay too.
I'll defer to the petitioner.
Thank you, Mr. President. These actually were, requests that were brought to me, but, some of these intersections been there for 35 years, so I don't think another 2 weeks is first. So whenever, our schedule allots.
I appreciate your understanding.
It should be quick anyway, but if it's easier to do it in a couple meetings, it's fine with me.
All right. Thank you very much, Councilor. Okay, Madam Clerk. So, would you suggest a date and time for the August 24 meeting? 1-21.
Yes, I would recommend for 1-21, August 24th, 2020 at 6:53 p.m.
6:53. So the recommendation, I assume that's okay with the Chair of Legal Affairs?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you've heard the recommendation of Legal Affairs to set a public hearing on 1-21 on August 24th at 6:53 p.m. Any objection by any councilor to that hearing date and time? Hearing none, the hearing date is established by a vote of 8-0 on 1-21 for August 24th at 6:53 p.m. And I guess go without saying that the petition is given further time. Moving on to 2-.
I think we need to vote on that, Mr. President.
We need to vote on that, Mr. President.
Okay. The recommendation of Legal Affairs is for further time?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any objection to granting 1-21 further time along with that hearing date? Hearing none, 1-21 has been given further time by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to 2-21.
Thank you, Mr. President. Petition 2-21, David R. Cormier. Request to amend Chapter 13, Section 13-34 to read the following. No parking on Albert Drive, both sides for the entire length. Similarly to the prior petition, Mr. President, recommendation would be further time with a public hearing scheduled for August 24th, 2020 at 6:55 p.m.
Very well. Any member of Legal Affairs have any issue with that? Councilor Cormier, are you okay with that?
I am totally fine with that. Thank you.
Mr. President, can I please recommend 6:54 p.m. so it doesn't conflict with the 6:55 public forum?
Very well. That'll work.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Is that okay, Councilor Dombrowski?
Yeah, that's fine. Mr.
Right.
President,
So
if I may,
yeah.
I just had one thought to the petitioner, without getting into the merits of anything. If you read the traffic agent's recommendation, he's recommending a similar stop sign in that vicinity.
Yes.
I think that's actually on it might be on the prior one, but it might be, I don't know if you want to author a petition or not. I can do that. Just a thought. We can have them all heard at the same time.
Oh, we can regular course it at the next meeting and have the hearing dates aligned. So.
Right. Thank you, Mr.
Correct.
I did see his recommendation, and I was going to petition that, but if you know you're around tomorrow and you want to put one in, it doesn't matter. But one way or another, it needs to come, and yes, we can do it all at once. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All
Very
right,
well,
thank
gentlemen. Okay. So you've heard the recommendation of Legal Affairs to grant 2-21 further time and establish a hearing date for August 24th at 6:54 p.m. Does any member of the council have any objection to either further timing 2-21 or establishing the hearing date as suggested? Hearing none, those two items, further time and August 24th at 6:54, are established by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to public service in 3-21, does the chairwoman of public service have a report?
I am, Mr. President. 3-21, National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated. Request commission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public ways. Nelson Street, National Grid to install one jointly owned pole, remove 4 jointly owned poles, and relocate 4 jointly owned poles on Nelson Street, beginning at a point approximately 10 feet west of the center line of the intersection of North Main and continuing approximately 400 feet in a westerly direction. Relocate T4 approximately 5 feet back, TJ approximately 4 feet back, P2 approximately 7 feet back, and P1 approximately 9 feet east and 8 feet back. Install new P1 84 and anchor approximately 50 feet from P1. We had a public hearing this evening. A representative from National Grid was here. We know that this is lining with the traffic recommendations and improvements to that whole area. So the recommendation would be the grant.
Very well. I'll poll your committee if you like. Councilor Feckley?
Yay. I'm sorry. Yes, I agree.
And Councilor Pauline Cormier.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Public Service Committee to grant 3-21. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote. Councilor Frida?
Mr. President?
You're going to abstain, Councilor Cormier?
Yes, I am required to abstain. The equipment is partially owned by my employer. Thank you.
Very well, your abstention is noted. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Arninger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 7-0. 3-21 is granted. Moving on to 67-20, is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. 67-20, Verizon New England Incorporated. Request commission to locate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary anchors, guides, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners along and across the following public way or ways. Franklin Street, relocate one solely owned pole numbered T.5-1 to a point on the northerly side of Franklin Street, approximately 300. Yep. Was there something, Mr. President?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. There was somebody saying something in the background.
I couldn't hear anything.
I don't know where that came from. Northerly side of Franklin Street, approximately 320 feet easterly from the center line of Pleasant Street. For the reason of relocating one solely owned pole on Franklin Street at the request of an abutter and to provide for the distribution of intelligence and telecommunications. We had a public hearing this evening. We had no representative from Verizon to try to get a little bit better idea of what the request of the abutter was for. We do see that it's distribution of intelligence and telecommunications, but that doesn't tell the layperson very much. So it's unfortunate that we can't have a dialogue with the petitioner, and we have difficulty in contacting the petitioner. So with that in mind, we're going to continue to try. So the recommendation would be for further time.
Okay, so we're going to have a recommendation for further time and a recommendation, I would assume, for a continued public hearing as well?
Yes, we already did that, didn't we? Or no?
No, we didn't vote on that yet.
Oh, okay.
Madam
right,
Clerk, could you give us that date and time again?
I would recommend that would be continued to August 10th, 2020 at apologies, I just want to double check the time on my list here. Uh, 6:45 p.m.
45?
Yes.
All right, so the recommendation by Public Service is for further time and a continued public hearing on August 10th at 6:45. Check with Councilor Feckley.
I'm all set with that.
And Councilor Pauline Cormier.
I agree.
All right, so the unanimous recommendation of Public Service is to give 67-20 further time and continue the public hearing to August 10th at 6:45 p.m. Is there any objection by any councilor? Hearing none, the matter is, the petition is given 67-20 is given further time with a public hearing, new public hearing date of August 10th at 6:45 by a vote of 8-0.
Mr. President, it's Councilor David Cormier. Could the record please reflect that I am abstaining from that vote as well? That is completely owned by my employer. Thank you.
The record is so noted, and the vote is 7.
Mr. President, just for notification, I just looked at that. It's a solely owned call. So it's okay. It's Verizon solely owned. All right, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. So let the record reflect that the vote to establish the further time in the public hearing passed by a vote of 7-0 with Councilor David Cormier abstaining. All right, moving on to Ways and Means and appointments. Is the chairwoman of Ways and Means ready to report on Mr. Raymond?
I am, Mr. President. So we had an interview with Mr. Charles Raymond today. The mayor has requested that we appoint him to the Conservation Commission with a term to expire April 15th, 2023. Mr. Raymond's resume is extremely impressive. He has quite a bit of experience with environmental groups. He has been involved with stormwater management. He has previous Conservation Commission experience. He has been involved in safe drinking water issues, and he has been a liaison for community development regarding the quality of drinking water. Also, his education is very impressive. He has a graduate studies in environmental management from the University of Maryland and a Bachelor of Science in Forestry and Wildlife Management from the University of Maine in Orono. So I believe that Mr. Raymond would be an excellent addition to Conservation Commission, and I would recommend his appointment, and I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida.
Yes, I support that.
And thank you. And Councilor Dombrowski.
I agree.
Thank you, Councilor. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of Ways and Means to confirm the appointment of Charles Raymond to the Conservation Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as vote. As yay, Mr. Raymond's appointment is confirmed by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to the appointment of Louis Masa. Is the chairwoman of Ways and Means ready to report?
I am, Mr. President, and we actually can move on as well on the measure confirming the individuals for the emergency management that follow. So I'll work on both of them at the same time. It will be the same outcome. All right, so we have a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Luis Masa to the Office of Emergency Management Operations Unit volunteer, and then a measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of the following individuals to the Office of Emergency Management Operations Unit volunteer. However, these are not reappointees, these are new appointees, so they do need to be interviewed. Jason Reagan, Harry Quarles, Darlene Quarles, Lisa DeLorme, Marcy Rothenberg, Pamela Sullivan, and Ihaz Ahmed. So what we did in the last meeting was give it further time, and I'm going to ask that we give it further time for one more for the next meeting so that we can interview all of them together at the same time.
Very well.
I'll actually do it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Frida?
Yes, I agree with that.
And Councilor Dombrowski?
I agree.
You've heard unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to give further time to the appointments of Louis Massa, Jason Reagan, Harry Quarles, Darlene Quarles, Lisa DeLorme, Marcy Rothenberg, Pamela Sullivan, and Isaiah Ahmed. Any objection to further time by any member of the council? Hearing none, by a vote of 8-0, all of those appointments are given further time. Moving on to the reappointment of John Proietti. Is the chairwoman of Ways and Means ready to report?
Yes, I am, Mr. President. This is a measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of John Proietti to the Historical Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023. Mr. Proietti is a longtime member of the Historical Commission, who he and all of the members have done wonderful work in the city of Leominster, protecting the history of the city in many different ways. And so my recommendation would be that we confirm the reappointment of John Proietti.
Okay. Very well. Councilor Frida?
I absolutely agree.
And Councilor Dombrowski?
I agree as well.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant the reappointment or confirm the reappointment of John Proietti to the Historical Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The reappointment of John Proietti to the Historical Commission is confirmed. Moving on to the reappointment of Paul Weiser to the Planning Board. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. This is a measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of Paul Weiser to the Planning Board, term to expire April 15th, 2025. This is Dr. Weiser's second term on the Planning Board. The city of Leominster was fortunate to acquire him as a member of the Planning Board back then, and we are fortunate that he continues to volunteer for us. He is a very learned individual and a benefit to the board. So my recommendation would be to confirm his reappointment to the Planning Board, and I'll ask you to call my committee.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Frida?
Absolutely, I do. I agree.
And Councilor Dombrowski?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the reappointment of Paul Weiser to the Planning Board. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. the reappointment of Paul Weiser to the Planning Board is confirmed. Moving on to, well, I'm not moving on to anywhere. Councilor Feckley, this is all yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right, moving on to the appointment of Nicholas Bedanza. We do have a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Nicholas Bedanza to the Disability Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023. We had Mr. Bedanza here this evening on the line for an interview. He is a very impressive young man with a very impressive resume. He is expected to earn his Master of Science in Library and Information Science from Simmons University in 2022. In the meantime, since he has earned his Bachelor of Science degree in sociology, he has worked for many social causes. He has represented underrepresented groups. He has interacted with the public in many, many ways in his employment, and I feel that his sociological background will be very beneficial indeed to the Disability Commission, and I am going to predict that Mr. Bedanza will be doing other things for the city of Leominster in the future, and hopefully so. So my recommendation is to grant the confirmation of Nicholas Bedanza to the Disability Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023, and I will poll my committee.
I agree.
Councilor Dabrowski?
I also agree.
So you have heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the appointment of Nicholas Bedanza to the Disability Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger.
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
And President Bedanza will be abstaining due to conflict of interest, and I will be recorded as yay. So with a vote of 7-0, Nicholas Bedanza has been confirmed as a member of the Disability Commission.
Thank you, Councilor. Moving on to C-3 is the Chairwoman of Ways and Means ready to report.
I am, Mr. President. C-3, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. Request the Council accept $760,805 for the city's Phase 1 portion of the CARES Act funding. As most of us, or all of us know, the CARES Act funding is directly connected to the COVID pandemic, and the city of Leominster has been awarded funds for various uses, and I am going to my records of that, if you give me just one moment.
Sure.
Okay, I was at the top, and now I have to go to the bottom. So I'm taking my time, but I'm getting there.
Okay.
Okay. So we do have a letter from the mayor. In March of 2020, Congress approved the CARES Act, which provides numerous opportunities for the city to access funding related to COVID-19. One of the stipulations under the act is that the city council must accept the funds as we receive them. At this time, we have 3 separate sources of funding that need to be accepted. There will be additional funds in the future. So of this $760,805, this is Phase 1 portion of the CARES Act funding. It will pay for $500,000 for the Leominster School Department, 1,500 Chromebooks and 200 hotspots, $70,000 for the Leominster Fire Department for COVID-related expenses, $102,300 for excess rubbish and recycling costs due to COVID, $17,000 for remote access to city departments, The remaining $71,505 will be held in the account for the city's anticipated FEMA reimbursement. The CARES Act pays for 25% normally required of the municipality. So this is money that is being granted to the city to help with the stresses of the COVID-19 pandemic, and my recommendation would be that we accept the funds and accept communication C-03. And I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida?
Yes, I support that.
And Councilor Dombrowski?
I also support that.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant C-03. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. C-3 is granted. Moving on to C-4, is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. C-04, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the council to accept $272,508 through the Community Development Block Grant COVID-19 program. So similarly, this is the mayor asking that we accept these funds. The city has used a portion of this funding to provide $2,500 to 58 businesses that have suffered financially due to their closure. With the uncertainty that lies ahead with COVID-19 and the reopening of our economy, we are currently reserving $127,508 as we monitor where the greatest need will be in the coming months. Sincerely, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. So my recommendation would be that the council accepts these funds and confirm C-04, and I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida?
Yes, I agree. But I'd also like to see if there's a possibility of getting that list for the 58 businesses that received the grant. Do we get a copy of that?
I would imagine that's clearly public record, so I'm sure that we can.
Right.
That's available, and we can have that. Maybe the clerk would make that available in our packets or distribute it to us sooner.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Anything further, Councilor Frida?
Oh, that's it. I support it.
All right, very well. Thank you. Councilor Dombrowski?
I also support it.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of Ways and Means Committee to grant C-04. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, by roll call, Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
And Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. C-4 is granted. Moving on to C-5, is the chairwoman of Ways and Means ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. C-05, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the council to accept $81,161 through the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding through the Department of Justice. So this is the last of the three separate sources of funding that need to be accepted, and the mayor is asking that the council accept this amount through the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding through the Department of Justice. Specifically, this funding is paying $63,061 in costs relating to overtime and $18,100 for supplies, including PPE and cleaning materials for the Leominster Police Department. So my recommendation would be that we accept these funds and that we grant Communication C-05. And I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Frida?
I agree.
And Councilor Dombrowski?
I agree.
We've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant C-5. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. C-5 is granted. Moving on to 69-20, does the Chairwoman of Ways and Means have a report?
I do, Mr. President. 69-20, Nellie Molina, renew the secondhand dealer's license for J&J Consignment located at 285 Central Street. We asked for referrals from the police department and the treasurer and collector, and both came back positive. So my recommendation would be that we renew the secondhand dealer's license and grant 69-20. And I'll actually confirm with that with my committee.
Councilor Frida
I support that.
and Councilor Dabrowski.
I agree.
All right, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of Ways and Means Committee to grant 69-20. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. 69-20 is granted. We have no new business. We have no old business. Is there any items in the community calendar that anyone has?
Mr. President, I do have
Yes, Councilor.
a comment. Oh, I'm sorry. I can wait.
No, go ahead, Councilor Frida. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if it was new business or old business, but I just wanted to give an update on the police station.
All right.
We did have a, or on
Go
the
ahead.
calendar, I guess we can go anywhere. We just to note that we had a meeting last week with the building committee, had a meeting with the neighborhood just to get some input, and we had a little bit of a plan. It's really preliminary. We couldn't tell them a lot, but you know they've seen the lot cleared and the school come down, and a lot of work being done. So it was time to actually talk with them, and there were about 35 people there, and it was a good meeting actually. That $2 million that has been put in for tonight, for next week, that's a lot to do with the land issue. You know, there's a lot of floodplain and there's a lot of filling, and a lot of the numbers are still being looked at. So we're not sure what the final cost will be. We're still talking about putting things together to do a presentation. I'm working with a project manager on that, and hopefully we'll have something real soon. We're just trying to iron out the numbers for the final cost. But it's going to be a nice project. We've got a great committee. Everybody's working well together, so it's a positive for the city.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Make sure you let us know when you want to put that on the agenda so we can make sure the public is aware and
Right.
has an opportunity to phone in or meet if we are present physically and be informed. I appreciate
Right.
the update. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anything else under the community calendar?
Mr. President, this is Councilor Feckley. I don't know if this would be under new business or old business, but I do want to make a comment regarding appointments.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Okay. So we had a reappointment to the planning board this evening, and certainly well deserved. But I just wanted to make a comment regarding those reappointments. There are 7 members. 6 of the members we have reappointed dutifully, and all of their terms are, intact. But the chair of the planning board term expired in 2015. So as the chairwoman of Ways and Means, I would like to ask the mayor when and if he has any plans to send a reappointment down for the chair of the planning board.
All right. Well, that's obviously the mayor's. We can't generate the appointment. So, as the chair of Ways and Means, as the chair, and this isn't on our agenda, so I'm not sure this is really appropriate for discussion. Anything that's important to the community or the community might have an interest in that's not appropriately described on our agenda really shouldn't be discussed, but I would just ask you to approach the mayor directly with respect to that, and that probably would be a service to the community for you to do that.
Okay. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to get that information out there. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. You're welcome. Anybody else under the community calendar? Okay. Hearing nothing else, unless there's any objection by any council member, the meeting is adjourned.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Program is sponsored by Medical Arts Hearing Instruments, 52 West Street in Leominster, locally and authentically providing better hearing and quality of life since 1978. www.donotshout.com.